My name is Krista Broussard, and I will be advocating for prisoners' reference rights. Today in my presentation, I will talk about the information needs of prisoners, why we as citizens should care about their information needs and whether those information needs are being met, and I will also offer a call to action to ensure library services for prisoners across the state of Louisiana. So first, let's talk about the information needs of prisoners. Some information needs of prisoners are very similar to the information needs of other people in the public. So these include general knowledge, bibliographic information, geographical information, news, and education. Just to clear up some things, general knowledge typically refers to things that could easily be Googled, recipes or any sort of sports statistic, or really any sort of statistic at all, lyrics, information about gardening, just things like that, things that you're curious about. Prisoners are curious about things too, and they deserve to have those needs met. Bibliographic information is referring to authors, copyright information, titles of things. And then geographical information refers to maps, addresses. News refers to the news, what's going on in the world, and education refers to either classes, like getting your GED or getting your high school diploma, or even college level classes. There are some information needs that are specific to prisoners, though. Prisoners typically at some point will want to or will be able to re-enter the community, and that's a really hard process for them to do. That's something that's really hard. It's hard for them to find a job. It's hard to find housing. A lot of them do end up becoming homeless and without a job. But if we could offer resources for them while in prison, we could potentially make that process easier for them. And you may be thinking right now, why should I care about making this re-entry level process easier for a prisoner? They made their decision, they're in jail. Why should I care? Why should I invest time into caring and learning? Well, I'm here to tell you that it benefits you as a member of the community to offer these services to prisoners in your community. Some benefits include health cost. As reported by the American Civil Liberties Union, it costs about $68,000 to house one inmate age 50 or older. And if they come out of prison and they haven't figured out how to acquire health insurance or figured out how to get a job, that cost is going to fall into the community members. It's going to fall, their costs are going to rise, and nobody wants that. You want these people to come into your community and enter the workforce so that they can pay taxes, so that they can have health care, become productive members of society. The Bureau of Justice Statistics released that in 2015, 608,000 people were admitted into prison, and at the same time, 641,000 people were released. That's 641,000 people who have re-entered the community and must now find work, who now have to find ways to take care of their health. They have to figure out all of those things. And if we offer them those reference services in prison, we can really help them become productive members almost immediately when they get out of prison. This also lessens the chance of these people re-entering prison, which then will lessen cost at prisons, and then some of that state money that is being directed towards prisons can then be directed to education or to infrastructure. That money can go to different places, which will also in turn benefit the community. Another reason we should really be focusing, especially the state of Louisiana, on providing reference services for our prisoners is that we're really lagging behind in that department. Earlier in this project, when I was looking for a prison or a correctional facility to interview librarians at, I got in contact with about 4 or 5 of them in the state of Louisiana, and none of them had librarians or really even had any sort of information services provided at their institutions. And that's not the case in most states now. Wisconsin has a really great program They have a lot of materials, but they've also been setting up programs. They have a family literacy program called Books Without Borders, which is to help develop bonds between father and child, and also increase literacy in both. Colorado has made sure that there are materials available to help people reenter society. The public library has actually made pamphlets and videos for prisoners to help them with reentry into society and into the community. And New York also offers reference questions by mail. Their public library takes inquiries throughout the state, and even some prisons and correctional facilities outside the state send their reference questions in. And so we really, as a state, are lagging behind. And I think even though right now we may not be able to provide the programs, I think we should at least take the step forward to being sure that prisoners in the state of Louisiana or other people being held in correctional facilities have access to materials about reentering society or general knowledge. They should have access to these materials at this time. Now, I understand that there may have worries about the kind of materials that we would be giving to prisoners, or that they would have. Some people may consider certain materials inappropriate. Through my research, I understand your concerns, and if we were to actually put money into our prison library systems and hire staff, or at least develop partnerships with our public libraries in the area near the prisons and correctional facilities, we would be able to craft selection policies specifically for prisoners. We understand that there are safety concerns for prisoners and staff, both library staff and correctional staff. So I would want to make sure that we take those safety considerations into consideration and be sure that we are providing them with materials that answer their information needs, but also don't create an environment of violence or unsafeness inside the prison. For sure, we will try, or whatever librarian would be, they would be willing to try and work with the mission of the institution, as well as work with the mission of the American Library Association to be sure that we can meet their information needs without stepping on the toes of the people who work at the prison, but also not interfering with our mission as librarian and information professionals. And there are several ways that we can help craft those selection policies. We can look at other prisons' selection policies. ALA has a prisoner's right to read, which is really useful. And so there are many examples already set forth by other states. So we're not going in this blind. We definitely have a way to craft a selection policy that will meet prisoners' information needs, but also not inhibit or it will not interrupt the safety of the environment of a prison. So now I would like to show the Louisiana expenditure breakdown for the fiscal year of 17-18. As you can see in this picture, so they broke down fiscal year 15-16 and the existing budget, and then their recommended budget, and it's broken down into salaries, other compensation, related benefits, travel, operating services, supplies, professional services, other charges, major repairs, and then unallotted. Within this expenditure breakdown, nowhere in there is there mentioned anything about prison libraries or prisoner reference services at all. And I think that there is a possibility that it may be under one of these already broken down categories. But what I'm asking for is for a dedicated portion of funding for prison libraries. And that this dedicated portion of fundings be used to acquire materials for institutions, acquire some sort of cataloging system for these institutions, and then also for staff. Now, I am aware that some prisons are not capable of housing a lot of material. If that is the case, I definitely think at least some money should go towards working with a partnership with a local public library or an academic library to make sure that those information needs of those prisoners are being met and that they're being provided with materials to better themselves for re-entry into the community. Thank you for listening to my presentation. I appreciate it a lot, and I hope you learned something and that maybe you'll do some more digging yourself for looking into if your local prisons have reference services provided for their prisoners. Thanks so much.